Hey guys, and welcome to the PickleBros podcast, where we have middle-class pickleball conversations. We don't fuss about the pros or the newest paddle technology. Instead, we focus on the shared nuances of the game and everyday problems that plague everyday players like you from 3-0 to 5-0. We're about to get into the topics, so go and grab your paddles. It's 002. Hey guys, and welcome to the PickleBros podcast, episode 4. Thank you for all the likes and comments and shares. We've really been enjoying it this week, but we got a lot of ground to cover. There's going to be some good rants today, so we're going to get right into it, just straight into the action. Today's topic is tournament blues and DUPR news. Some good DUPR news came out recently. I think we have largely positive feedback on it. It's not perfect, but largely positive feedback. So we're going to go straight into the DUPR check. And as usual, there are some interesting contrasts between us, where two of us had some very large movement and two of us didn't, where there probably should have been some movement. So Jesse, why don't you go ahead and get me thrown up there real quick? I'm not depressed or upset about it, but it's kind of a bummer. I went down significantly. From 4.34 to what am I sitting at this morning? 4.25 still?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a 0.09, almost a full 0.1 DUPR point drop. And the reason for it is my wife and I played in a Days of DUPR hosting tournament mini round robin thing from our local Lifetime. Is Aaliyah a director? Is that her title? Whatever she is incredible. If anyone attached to Lifetime hears this, she's a rock star. She runs some really good events, and this will come up later, how smaller tournaments are significantly better than bigger tournaments, but that's for later. My wife and I played 4.0 mixed, and we got slaughtered. We went 1-8. I feel bad for my wife. Wanted to play it, but I should not have put us in that situation, and we got absolutely brutalized. The only game we won was two people who were 3-5s who shouldn't have been there. And yeah, so it was very rough, but due to some DUPR updates, it resulted in a big change for me. Jesse, but you went the opposite direction.
Yeah, so my wife and I also played in the same tournament, and we went 7-2, and I was shocked that I got a big bump in my DUPR from 4.43 all the way up to 4.59.
Whoa.
My all-time high.
0.16, is that?
0.16.
Wow. And that is some serious movement. And that is due to the changes they made, which we will explain in just a moment. But Stolp and Tim, what did your DUPRs do?
Whoa, I'm still processing that 0.16 jump. That's a high DUPRage uppage there, Jesse. Congratulations on your recent victories. And Ian, dang, 1-8 is just or 1-7, no matter how you chop that up, that hurts. I'm sorry, man.
I'm keeping my mouth shut. Humble pie. You you get 9 chances and you can only pull out one game against somebody who didn't win any games. It's like, I don't know how good I am today, but today I'm a 4.25.
Dude, put it in my DUPR.
Put it in my DUPR.
Just put it in there. I stayed the exact same. Consistency is key. 4.54. And Jesse, now I'm chasing you as the number 2 pickle bro. Look at you.
Yeah.
Yep. And for me, no movement. I am 4.70, and Jesse's getting closer in the rear view. So it's making me sweat a little bit.
Yeah. And what's so interesting about this is, Tim, can you first of all explain why we think you and Stolp should have moved, and also just how absolutely crazy. And by the way, this is a DUPR positive episode, but DUPR still makes us crazy. Can you explain that story that you wanted to share?
This part might not be that positive, but
sure.
Yeah. So we played I think we commented on the last podcast that we had a series of pretty successful matches in a foursome that we arranged. And I won all of them, and Stolp won the big one. He won the one that was going to make for the biggest jump for his DUPR. And day by day goes by, no change in our dupers. So we're still holding on to hope that Duper Tuesday is still a thing. And it wasn't for us yesterday. So I sent an email because I care. I care about this. I'm bugged. Like I put in a lot of work. I had some good results. So I want to see some movement in my duper. So I texted my duper contact that I run the league through, and he said just to send an email. So I sent him screenshots of the scores saying, hey, these matches haven't shown up on my performance table. There are no dots for June saying that I played any kind of matches in June, and this was on June 2nd that I played these matches. So hopefully that makes a difference, but what are you going to do?
And go ahead and so you went out of your way, went so far as to email them about a score you want actually reflected. And as Stolp shared on episode 1, people look at this thing, they care. Go ahead and explain kind of what Duper will do even among friends. Remember when we had that little squabble?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the sensei, as he's wont to do, he arranged a Duper match. He threw down the challenge, and it was me and Jeff versus Jesse and Ian. And this was supposed to be the battle of the finesse guys and the power guys. Me and my friend Jeff, our buddy Jeff, were known as drivers, for the most part. And it was going to be a best 2 out of 3 match. We won the first 2 games, and then so I'm feeling kind of relaxed, like, all right, now we can relax. And Ian's like supercharged. The games were close. They were close games, so he wanted to do another one, and he assumed that it was going to be for Duper. I'm like, whoa, we never discussed this. He's like, no, we always do this. What are you talking about? And it got pretty heated, and it's probably the most heated me and Ian and I have ever been. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that it got close to us going to blows, but it was in the ballpark. And after that third game started, I just had to stop everything and cross the net and embrace my bro.
Midpoint, you just stopped everyone. You
right.
walked up.
You're like, no. Yeah. This can't continue. This is crazy. This is all about Duper. Duper is doing this to us. Duper is.
Yeah.
And so I stopped everything. I crossed the net. I embraced my bro and be like, this is ridiculous. I love you, bro. Let's play. And you know what? It went into Duper and they won. So I guess that took a little bit of the edge off of me, that little that showing of sensitivity, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it.
Yeah. And shout out and kudos to you, man. This is more on the personal note, but that was really showing your character. And for me in that moment, I was just as heated as you were. And when you did that, I instantly had this sobering feeling of, what am I doing? Why are we bitching and arguing over a score online? Right?
Man, it's like Duper gives you rabies or something. You're just
yeah. Man, we if we're gonna fight, let's make it not about Duper. Let's make it about those nasty Nelsons or all those ethic controversies that we call
out. That stuff
about.
makes sense.
Like that matters more to me than Duper. You guys getting wrapped up.
Drive
but
a ball
good
into
showing.
my face. Drive a ball into my face, and I'm like, great shot. It's,
yeah, right.
It's like you don't want to add a 21-14 score to Duper. It's like I hate you kind of thing. Yeah. Jesse, can you run through? So, due to my big movement and your big movement, and contrastingly, strangely, their lack of movement, which I think could be a bug or a glitch as they rolled this thing out, Duper made a really big kind of cool announcement. It's not all solidified, but for people who aren't in the know, haven't been keeping up, aren't as insane as we are about pickleball, can you please lay out Duper's new updates?
Yeah, so I tuned in to another podcast called the PicklePod Podcast, and they had this guy Steve Kuhn on. Steve Kuhn is the head of Duper. He owns it. He created it, and he announced that they're rolling out some major changes, some of which have already been implemented. So first of all, they're going to have something called the reliability score, and there's a primitive version of this already, which is the asterisk. And the asterisk exists if you only play a small number of matches. Like I have an asterisk on my singles rating because I've only played one tournament 2 years ago, and then one rec game with one person.
Those were
this
me,
year,
actually.
which
You
was
did
you.
quite well, yeah.
Thank you. But DUPR sort of says, well, this is our best guess of your DUPR rating, but it's not solid because you haven't played with a lot of people. So they're going to change that asterisk into an actual score called the reliability index. And it's based on the number of people, different people you play with, the number of partners you have, the number of matches you've played, and so on. And then they're also making major changes in the way that DUPR itself is calculated. So, and I think these have been implemented already. So point differentials were a big part of DUPR in the old version. So if you play a game and you win 11-9, your DUPR goes up more than if you win 11-0. That's the old version. But in the new version, DUPR only cares if you win or you lose. Doesn't matter by how much. In addition, they're trying to make changes in DUPR more transparent. So the example that Steve Kuhn gave on the podcast was if 4 4.0 players are playing doubles, so you've got 2 4.0 players on one side, 2 4.0 players on the other side. The winners of that match, their rating will go to 4.05. The losers will go to 3.95. So everybody kind of knows going in what the stakes are.
And that can kind of explain the drastic movements, right?
I think so. I think it makes it easier. It's more mobile, it feels like to me now, because I really struggled to get my DUPR up for months. Even when I was doing well and exceeding DUPR's expectations, I would often have little or no change. But now under this new system, winning these games really amped up my DUPR. And then if it's a little more complicated, though, if the players are of unequal rating. So if you've got, let's say you have 2 4.5 players playing 2 4.0 players, DUPR is going to calculate the odds that the 4.5 players are going to win and is going to apportion the spoils accordingly. So the example Steve Kuhn gave is he said maybe the 4.5 players might go up if they win only to 4.52. And I don't know if that's a hard and fast example, but it's illustrative, right?
Did he say the stronger team will go up less?
Yes. And then the 4.0 players, if they win, they might go up to like 4.08. And then another big change, at least I think this is part of the new system, because we reached out to Steve Kuhn and he responded by email.
Which, by the way, how cool is that?
Very cool. Like that he's so accessible.
Steve. Yeah.
We appreciate it. So I asked him, because under the old system, if you have 2 partners playing doubles together, the higher rated partner gets most of the spoils, right? And this is extremely frustrating for the lower rated player because it just makes it very hard to get your DUPR up.
Yep.
Well, he says that his understanding is that it will be equally distributed. So if you have a 4-0 playing with a 5-0 and they beat 2 4-5s, both the 4-0 player and the 5-0 player will go up 0.05.
Yeah, that is like Stolp. Give me your thoughts on all of that. I know you've actually been a bit remote with between the 4 of us recently, so you've got a bit of an outside looking in.
Yeah,
because the 3 of us have been hammering home on this, and you're kind of late to it.
Yeah, so I'm in Minneapolis this week, but the show must go on, and so packed up my gear, and here I am, remote style. First of all, with the Steve Kuhn email, that is so cool that he responded to you, Jesse. And what he said in that email was, you've had some critical feedback of DUPR, and for the most part, you've been right. He took accountability towards that. And I thought that was a big comment that I just wanted to highlight on this podcast is they understand some of the frustrations players have like us and acknowledge that and said, I'll take that head on. That's what I signed up for and make it better. So no matter where this discussion goes, my first perspective is, and we addressed this and maybe in the very first episode, DUPR has the ingredients to be a really powerful and accurate tool. All of these changes to me are further steps that we're moving in that direction. This is the right steps for DUPR to take to make the players happy, to make the system better, to make the data quicker, to make it more accurate. And as I was listening to the other podcast, Tim mentioned reading these emails, catching up on some conversation from you all from afar. Here's what I kind of walked away with is it is weighing things that matter to us more, wins and losses. That's the big thing I take away. If you win, you're going to improve. If you lose, you're going to drop. That is a positive change for everybody. And you know what the stakes are. I like it when I know what is on the line and what the scoreboard is going to reflect, win or lose. The weighted scores thing, I think these are good things as well. Like the difference of the movement in players who are higher rated versus lower rated. In theory, that sounds great if your DUPR score is accurate. So we, in our circles that we swing in, we know that. So for a long time, I was underrated until I dropped some games because what do they hang on to the 60 games?
It's yet to be known how long they backtrack, but it is 60 used to be.
There's something called a half-life. So I think it's 50 days now.
50 days.
So a game that occurred, my understanding, I could be wrong, I'm not an expert, but a game that occurred 50 days ago will count half as much as a game that occurs today.
So just to round out my thoughts here, some of that dropped off for me, and then I got boosted to where I think my score reflects me more accurately. But if the score of your opponent or partner is not accurate, it's going to affect your score. So it's like this in a perfect vacuumed experience where everyone's ratings are perfect. DUPR is going to be perfect, but I don't think the algorithm has yet quite conquered the exact numbers to who everyone is on a pickleball court. So that's my initial thoughts. Thanks again.
Yeah. Tim, I know that for you, one of your personal things was you're like wins and losses. Why does the rest of it matter? Like talk about that.
Absolutely. So we talked about the spreadsheet that we keep among us in our pickleball group. And it has long been a topic of debate about how important point differential is. And some of us think it's very important, because it tells more of the story. It provides some of that important detail. Others like me, I'm a huge advocate. And it doesn't matter how you get to the winner's circle. It just matters that you get there. Winning ugly is what? Winning. It's winning. And, we even talked about this a little bit last week on the podcast when Stolp was saying that, he was talking about what he looks for in a partner. He wants a guy to play tough, whether he's up or down. And I confessed in that moment that, I'm not always very good at that. Like a lot of times I'll let my guard down, I'll be up big, and then I'll drop like 3 or 4 points in a row. And the score ends up looking not very pretty. But my thing is, I'm going to win. I'm going to try my best to win when it matters. In crunch time, I want to win when it matters. I have to be focused, dial in, because that's what matters. The win is what matters. And under this new system, it really seems like that's going to go in my favor. It seems like there's been a change in philosophy that really aligns with my own, which I'm very happy about and very excited about. Because, I win ugly a lot. And I'd love to see myself not get punished for that. Like my biggest annoyance with the old system is I feel like there were like imaginary judges on the sideline with a little scorecard saying, nope, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We believe you should be winning by more than that. And I'm like, there's no reason for that. It should all be about wins and losses. And now it seems to be, and now I'm happy about it.
Yeah, yes. Turbo Tim's going to like that, right? Tim gets in this mode where it's just he's going to put the weight on his shoulders and do whatever it takes to win. Ugly's the right word, but gets it done is also the Turbo Tim. So
yeah, I agree, Tim. You do win ugly, but hey, if you get the W at the end of the day, when we do our recaps, we're like, well, Tim went undefeated again. But Jesse, I think you actually have taken the opposite on the point differential. Right?
Yeah, so I actually interviewed Steve Kuhn for another publication about a year ago when DUPR was just getting started. And he spent most of his time emphasizing the benefits of using the point differential. And this is what distinguished DUPR from the other rating systems like WPR. And the argument he made, which I found persuasive, was he says, look, let's say you have 2 hypothetical players, player A and player B. And they each play singles against Ben John separately. Player A scores 0 points. He loses 0-11. Player B scores 9 points. He loses 9-11. Do we really think player A and player B are equal in skill? Of course not. One other point I want to make is I forgot to add one of the new innovations is instantaneous updates. So before,
of course. Yeah.
yeah, we had to wait till DUPR Tuesday. Well, it looks like DUPR Tuesday is not a thing anymore. And Monday, I happened to be online as the director of our tournament that we played in was uploading the results one game at a time. And I was actually sitting there refreshing DUPR and watching my DUPR rise and fall in real time. It's like watching a stock in the stock market or something.
Exciting.
They're going to get a lot of clicks.
Watching Bitcoin, Jesse. Come on.
So that's going to, I think, be attractive to consumers. So one thing that I wish they would fix, which they haven't fixed, is they still haven't separated out gender doubles and mixed, which I really think they need to do. And the other rating systems have done this. Little example of this. So my rating now is above 450. Well, me and Michelle, my mixed doubles partner and my wife, we signed up for PPA Denver a few weeks ago, and we want to play 4.0. We're very much 4.0 mixed doubles players. We're not 4.5s. We're not really 3.5s either. We're 4.0. That's where we belong. And I wrote the director or somebody at PPA Denver, and I said, look, my DUPR rating is now above 4.50. Are we going to be able to play at 4.0 in mixed doubles? Because last year in a tournament in Denver, they bumped me up after in mixed doubles when my DUPR went above 4.0. So I said, are we going to be able to play 4.0? And this is his response, which I think is pretty interesting. He says, it's Brandon. He says, hi, Jesse, you will be fine at 4.0. When looking at DUPR ratings, we are only looking for those who are clearly playing below their WPR level.
What?
We are only looking for those who are clearly playing below their WPR level. Now, a little background. Last fall, Tom Dundon, another billionaire, he owns PPA. Last fall, Dundon's group and Steve Kuhn's group announced that all of Tom Dundon's businesses, including PPA, were allying with DUPR. So PPA has an alliance with DUPR. But this guy, when it comes to figuring out who's a sandbagger and who's not, is like, yeah, we don't look at DUPR.
Oh my gosh.
We look at WPR. And there's a Grand Canyon-sized chasm between my mixed doubles WPR, which is 3.8.
I'm at 3.0.
Yeah.
In WPR.
And my DUPR score. So am I a 4.5? Well, according to this guy, I could play 3.5 mixed doubles if I wanted to. Interesting.
Whoa. Okay, so that is huge news. I understand why you saved that. Interesting. But in terms of point differential, I'm still relatively unconvinced. I'm not sure which way or another. Tim, I know you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either. And here's my point. So the example that you gave about these two guys that play against Ben Johns, and one does really well against him, one gets smoked by him. I think the guy that does really well against him, if he's going to show his merit, he's got to do it against other players too. And if he's really good, he will demonstrate against those other players. And that's where his true rating will come out. We're not just playing against one guy. We're playing against, ideally, a whole lot of players. So that's where I think the win-loss thing really shows its value as opposed to point differential.
Okay, I have to jump in. I did so good just sitting back here. I want a siren that goes by that goes woo woo woo, accountability alert, because a few weeks ago Jesse's like, I'm over DUPR. I'm never gonna look at this thing again. I don't like DUPR. Like, this means nothing to me. Let me just go back and refresh the minds of whoever's listening right now. We had a couple of emails out to billionaire owners. We had a couple of statistical data analyses going on behind the scenes. We've had internal conversation. Jesse cares about DUPR a lot. I don't care what you say. We said we were not going to talk about this. We don't pay attention to it. you just told the whole world you were refreshing this like the stock market, watching it go up and down. So if anything I can provide to this podcast, it will be accountability. So 3 weeks ago, Jesse says he's not going to pay attention to it. 2 days ago, the guy's watching it like the stock market.
So it's a fair point. I plead guilty.
Oh my gosh!
But it paid off. I mean, he's a 4.59 today,
right?
So he just needed to stay with it.
Not far behind there, but still, I want to keep on you and ask you this question. So I just love it's your quote. It's people check this thing, right?
Yep.
But as Jesse just told us, and it was news to me, when he's looking at what tournament to enter for a DUPR rating, they're using another rating to gauge whether he's sandbagging. Should people be looking at this thing if they're using another rating entirely?
Here's where I land with all of it. Like, I can get cross-eyed thinking about all this acronym stuff. And dude, we're talking about pickleball and how good we are. Put me in front of somebody with a partner next to me who I'm comfortable with, and I'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. That's my mentality. But I'm getting too wrapped up in hundreds of points and this and that. To me, when you break it down to its simplest form, it's winning and losing. You win and you put it in a WPR or WPT or a DUPR or a spreadsheet, it's going to positively impact you. If you lose, it's going to negatively impact you. My dumb competitor brain tells me to go out and win every time. That's all I needed to hear. And I think for the majority of pickleball players who are somewhat serious about this sport, it just comes down to that, winning or losing. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win, to improve my scores, to better my tournaments that I play in, to better myself as a pickleball player. And that's where I'm going to start and finish at all times.
Dang, that is...
I like it.
Actually, I love that. It's like in a similar vein as when I just said how when Tim came and apologized because we were arguing over DUPR, and I had that moment of soberness where I was like, what am I doing? Just hearing you say that, I'm like, why do I care about this? Can I actually, at the end of the day, can I beat the guys across from me in the kitchen? Like, can I do it or not? And so maybe we didn't actually discuss this, but I want to kind of take it this direction. Do we care too much about the number instead of getting out there and drilling?
Yes.
Doing the work, right?
We obviously care too much about the number. 100%. It's right behind our names and our little squares here in the boxes. So yeah, it's like, it might as well be our last name.
Jesse's going to get it tattooed.
But yeah, maybe I will. But in fairness, like, I feel like Tim, you've accepted challenge. Like, you've got a big DUPR score, and me and Ian wanted to go after you and Jeff Ma, and you could have been like, no, like, I want to maintain my DUPR. I'm happy with where it is. I understand that I'm putting my DUPR at risk by playing you guys, but you didn't. You played us. You put it on the line. So I think, yeah, we care about our DUPR scores, but not to such an extent that we're willing to turn down challenges and kind of orient our whole competitive landscape towards maintaining or increasing our DUPR. We don't do that.
That's a really good point to bring up too, because I think we've mentioned this before, but I don't know how people feel about when someone challenges them to a DUPR match. What level of how obligated should they feel to accept that challenge? Does it matter?
Instant yes. Don't care who you are, what it is. I'm saying yes. I'll play.
Okay. That's still, what about you guys?
I mean, I will say instant yes because I'm low and I want to siphon off as much of your juicy DUPR as I can.
Of course.
But
right.
in the exact same breath, okay, there's a second breath. I'm saying if I had a DUPR up in your realm, 4.7, or like our buddy Louie, who keeps flirting with that 4.9 high and 5.0 lows, I might be more judicious. Like, so if Louie were to play me, Louie's better than me. Like, he's incredible, especially at singles. The man I can't hold a candle to him in singles, and I think he's got me in doubles as well. But are we a 0.75 roughly gap? We are not. So I'm a threat to him and his DUPR score when we play, because I can win 4 or 5 games out of 10 against him on most days still. So I recognize you got to keep it safe a little bit.
Right. So I've told you guys, I coined the phrase, with great duper comes great responsibility. You need to meet all challenges and not complain about it. You've got a high duper. Okay, well, this is the price that comes with it. You need to accept all challenges. You need to give guys their opportunity to possibly get a little bit of your duper off of you. That's just part of the deal. I mean, it comes with the territory, and hopefully, even if you have a high duper, you're finding guys that you can take some of their duper.
Yeah, I'm willing to put it on the line in tournaments and the duper league, but I'm not like setting aside my life every time somebody challenges me. Like, no, I can only play a couple intense matches per week. So
that's kind of interesting.
How many times does that happen?
Jesse? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how many times does that happen to where people, have you declined dupers, or does it happen all that often to where people are saying, let's put this into duper, and you're not comfortable? Because like, to me, yes, you have to agree as a group and we're going to do this and stuff's on the line. I'm into that. But it just doesn't happen all that often to where we're saying we're going to put duper on the line. I don't think
sorry, Jess, I don't want to cut you off, but let me jump in. And for me, it's because when I know my duper's on the line, I make sure I sleep well the night before. I'm hydrated. I'm focused. I get up half an hour earlier and get to Lifetime, go hit the sauna, walk a half mile on the treadmill. I treat it differently, more competitively. And that is a hard standard to maintain every morning, like we play every morning.
I will attest that you tend to get up for those duper matches. That's like
I play better. I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer. Yeah.
But Jesse, I think it's interesting what you said about you're not going to change your whole schedule around to make sure that you give somebody their duper match opportunity. It's usually you that throws down the gauntlets for these matches.
Well, yeah. I mean, but like I feel like if you're enrolling in tournaments and duper leagues, people have their chance, and but no, it doesn't. It's not like people are challenging me. Nobody's really challenged me recently, but there was one case where somebody challenged me, and I didn't really want to do it. I was tired, but I was like, okay, I'll do it.
But on the flip side, and I was trying to figure out how to weave this in. I think this is good. Just this last weekend, I did kind of pseudo put my duper on the line. I mean, my wife she's not quite a 3.5 player. Her duper is currently sitting at 3.4, which I think is, pretty accurate. And there was no 3.5 for us to play in. And so we accepted the challenge to go up to 4.0. And I told you guys beforehand, this could either go really good for us or really bad for us, because every team at that point, we were using the old duper. Our differential was significant, right? Because there were a couple players who were in my duper realm rating in that low to mid 4s. And my wife was like by far the lowest duper in the tournament. And so I knew that if we did well, I had a lot to stand to gain. And I think that's kind of what we saw with Jesse, right? I mean, Jesse performed very well. Both matches he lost were close, and he went up, 0.16. And, and no excuses. Me and my wife did not get the job done, and that was frustrating. And, how do we gel in competition is that continuing discussion of marriage and pickleball, which will come up again. But it's like,
I want to stop beating around the bush. I want to move to the next topic. But before we do, let's put the money where our mouth is, folks. How about let's put our duper. I propose to throw the gauntlet down on the PickleBros in the name of science and all things algorithm. Let's, the four of us, next week find a time. Who knows if we're all available to be together. But next time the four of us are together, let's put our dupers on the line. Well, will you put your dupers on the line? And let's play the four of us and see what happens. Who accepts, who doesn't?
Indeed. I love it. And I would love if viewers and listeners would comment whether they want us. We do film our games. Would you guys be interested in watching that game, having us throw it up on the channel?
Wait a second. I never agreed to this, actually. I'm looking at all of our dupers, and
whoever's partnering with you is screwed. All right. But we do need to move on, guys. That was great. But we dwelled there longer than I expected. And we're going to move into Tournament Blues. And in a lot of ways, this does piggyback well but it's my turn to be inflammatory. I'm going to try and control some of the language I use because I am very upset. And Jesse, I know you are also very upset. But I'm going to start, by saying National Pickleball, the brand, the tournament facilitators, you are an abomination of a product. It is embarrassing. And I know some of the people at National Pickleball, I've spoken with them. It's been cordial. It's been kind. Like, I'm not saying they're awful people, but the product you release as a tournament is an embarrassment. And I am so frustrated. So what happened is we had a tournament, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. The NP Springs Classic came into town, and it was Friday singles and women's doubles, Saturday mixed, Sunday men's doubles, women's singles. Friday, gorgeous weather. Ran men's singles and women's doubles. Saturday, there was nothing. And by the way, I want to caveat everything I'm going to say. If it were isolated and pocketed, it's like shrug your shoulders, frustrating. But the ingredient, the whole cake I'm going to bake here is just ridiculous. The second day, Saturday, weather was bad. There's nothing they could do. It rained all day. Courts were puddles. What do you want? Then the following day, there was some forecasted rain, and it rained in the morning. For the first couple hours, the tournament was supposed to start, and so they canceled it. But the rest of the afternoon, from basically 11:30 a.m. onward, and the courts had lights, they did not prompt us back into the tournament and open it back up. And so we could have played, and they didn't. So the only pass I'm going to sort of give National Pickleball is weather is difficult to manage. It was managed poorly. Whoever was making the judgment call made a wrong call. But if that was just the only thing, I would be okay with it. But the second point is because 2 days were canceled, they provided what I'm going to call no refunds. Now, that's not monetarily, numerically exactly true. And I understand that when we sign up for tournaments on pickleball brackets or pickleball tournaments, these just, again, awful websites that are so difficult to manage and hard to set up and get yourself orchestrated. My dad's never done it. This, by the way, was his first men's singles tournament. I had to set everything up for him. It took me an hour because it's so complicated if you don't know the system in and out. They provided no refunds. I paid for 5 brackets. My wife's mixed, my men's, my mixed, my dad's singles, and his men's tournament. I shelled out more than $260. And with all these cancellations, 2 days, 4 brackets, they did not play us. And they only gave me $40 back. So I essentially handed them $220-ish for kicks and giggles because they showed up and set up their little tent and plugged in a couple Ethernet cords. Like, there was and I get that the rain happened, and I understand when I sign disclosures and I click all the check boxes. Do you agree to this? Do you agree to this? Do you agree to this? I'm not talking about legal recourse. I'm not talking about they're running a scam or anything. It's not right to set up a tournament, make bad judgment calls, not allow refunds, and then on top of it, point number 3 is it's just a shoddily run event. Monument Valley Park, MVP, our local scene, our big scene, has 16 courts. That's a lot of courts. And I understand the NP Classic's a big tournament, but there was at any one given time on the Friday having men's singles and women's doubles, 4 or 5 empty courts not being run. And they're not running referees, by the way, which is another crap point. Sorry, point number 4, they're not running referees. I understand that is very difficult, and that is fine. Sorry, I'm just going to rant here, guys. Like, sorry, you just got to listen to me go. It was, my dad started 2 hours late, and his second match was an hour after his first one. So he was there for 4 hours. He plays 2 matches, and because he was in men's 60 plus 3.5 singles, he had 7 guys in his bracket. That's a pretty good bracket. They're going to run around robin. Well, one of our friends, Guy Taylor from Pueblo, Colorado, great player, in my opinion, a 4-5 60-plus player. He signed up for 4-0. That's fine. He was the only one there. So they move him down into the 3, and this is not his fault, by the way. They move him down into the 3-5, and he plays the guy, the 60 plus singles guys there. And he obviously makes it to the finals, obviously wins it. But my dad, who was the second best men's singles player, doesn't even medal because of the way they shaped it all out, bringing guys in from other brackets. Like there was a 70 plus 4-5 guy in there as well. And then, so you're merging brackets because you can't get bodies. I know Jesse's going to talk about that later. You're not running all your courts. You're starting late. Point number 5. It's not DUPR integrated. I went and talked with Nicole. Love you, Nicole, but this is not okay. I went and talked with the head table-ish, all the ladies and all the refs under the tent. I was just completely innocuously, hey, are we going to get these added to DUPR? Because a lot of people are interested in that. And they said, no, this won't get over. And I'm like, what do you mean it won't get over? They're like, well, there's no integration set up. I'm like, okay, well, you've got the sheets. Are you guys going to manually add it in? And I'm going to get the mimicry wrong. But a lady was relative. I wouldn't say she was rude, but she was dismissive. And she was like, well, she's like, do you have any idea how many matches that is? I'm like, hundreds. She's like, yeah, it's hundreds. I'm not going to do that. Are you going to do it? And I'm like, what did I shell out all this money for? You gave me a bad product. You run the thing wrong. You make bad judgment calls, and it's not even integrated in DUPR. There's no incentives to play with National Pickleball. Their sponsors should be embarrassed. Onyx has partnered with them for the rest of the year. And by the way, I don't know if there's other series that are just as bad. I'm just telling you what I just experienced. I am boycotting National Pickleball. This has been the last 2 weeks has been one of the worst experiences of any tournament I've ever been attached to, just because of these constant failures. And I'm coming hard, and I don't care. I know there are a lot of people on our local scene who feel this way. It was an abomination of a product. I give you money, you give me your value, and you run me a tournament, and it didn't happen. I'm just incensed. Jesse, sorry, I went for like 15 minutes. I'm sorry. I know you feel similarly. I'll pass it over to you.
Well, I share your frustration. I registered for men's and mixed. It was $100. They only gave me back $20. I think they could have run both the mixed and the men's. It stopped raining Saturday around mid-afternoon. So, and when you told me that they were not entering any of the results into DUPR, I find that to be unacceptable. I mean, this is a USA Pickleball sanctioned event. I just expect major tournaments to submit results to DUPR. I think that that's sort of basic now. I've had good experiences with National Pickleball in the past. Their staff has always been friendly to me and competent. Actually, I wanted to make this point. I checked my closet this morning, and I own a total of 9 T-shirts. Okay. 4 of my T-shirts.
I mean, pickleball T-shirts, not clothes in general.
All. I have 9 T-shirts. Okay. 4 of them. This is Mile High Classic NP. This is the Springs Classic from 2 years ago, also NP. This is Sin City Classic in Las Vegas last year, NP. And Arizona Open last fall. So 4 of my 9 T-shirts are NP. I mean, I'm a loyal customer. I've done many NP tournaments. I've had good experiences. Your point about the refs, though, is well taken. Most of the games are not refereed. And I've played in tournaments down in Arizona where every single game is refereed. So I really wonder, it just doesn't feel like good value. I checked their website this morning. Their motto is bringing value to the pickleball community, one event at a time. And I was going to suggest to them, maybe they should change that to bringing disappointment to the pickleball community, one event at a time.
Wow. Yep.
If any thanks are to be given to NP, I just want to say thank you for clothing our PickleBro Jesse, because without NP, you'd be wandering around shirtless. So at least that's something.
Tim, and there's a lot to discuss. Jesse, I know we're going to discuss enrollment in tournaments, but Tim, I think this is a good segue. You run our DUPR League, and what is your perspective on alternatives to these tournaments that I'm raging about?
Right. So my perspective is a little bit different because I typically don't play in those big tournaments. I haven't even tried. I played in one last year in Alabama. It's a big national tournament. And that's kind of what I go back to when I hear some of the descriptions of, these big tournament experiences and waiting around all day. There's nothing to eat. Referees aren't at every match. That's what I remember is that tournament. But yeah, I typically don't seek these out, but this summer, the PPA is coming to our area, and a friend of mine from Georgia might fly in and play in that one, and she asked me if I would play mixed with her. I'm like, absolutely. So while she's still trying to determine whether or not she's going to be able to do that, I went ahead and tried to register for men's doubles. And this is just my perspective. This will sound very a lot of people know what this process is like, but for me, I don't do it very often. So I was surprised. It was quite itemized when I went in there and tried to register. So $95 for a registration fee, $40 for each event that you enter. And hopefully when you register, you know exactly which events that you're going to enter, because otherwise you're paying a processing fee of $10 each time you go in there and register for a new event. There's weather insurance for $20. So Ian, you were talking about the refunds that you were not able to get, or embarrassing refunds for your last tournament. Hats and shirts are $25 a piece if you want those. All told, and I'm weighing in gas too. So I'm like, so this is going to cost me $290.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a hat though, so it's going to be like $270 or something. And so for all this money, I'm looking in to see what the draw is like. There better be some good players. There's 3 teams signed up.
Yeah.
And one of those teams is Nick and Jason, who we know well around here. They actually
Great players.
They took second in my DUPR League last weekend. It was great. Great players. And it just occurs to me, I can set up a match with these guys right now.
Yep.
And be there in 10 minutes. I'll be home by dinner.
And DUPR log it.
I will DUPR log it. And I can get a couple of other teams. We can have a little mini playoff and log all those matches into DUPR. What are we doing? That would be free. It's like if you pick one of these tournaments, it's like you're picking Spirit Airlines when you have a private jet.
Yeah. Stop. I'm not trying to block you out, man. But Jesse, I know you're well familiar with the enrollment numbers.
Yeah.
And this is what Tim is saying. What are we doing? I think people are starting to get onto the fact of what are we doing?
Yeah. So a few days ago, I went online and looked at enrollment for the major Colorado tournaments in 2023 and compared it to 2022. So the largest tournament last year was the USA Pickleball Great Plains Regional here in Colorado Springs. Last year, there were 595 registrants. This is happening in a couple weeks, and so far there's only 295 this year. Another large tournament is the Rocky Mountain Championships. Actually, that was the number one in 2022, 964. This year, 484. Rocky Mountain State Games last year, 248. This year, 77. So I feel like people are turning away from these high dollar tournaments. By contrast, you mentioned the tournament we played in this past weekend, Ian, at Lifetime. That tournament cost $15 for Lifetime members and $20 for non-members. And Aaliyah sent out an email, and within days she had full bracket, 10 teams. Actually, she had anticipated only allowing 8 teams, but demand was so strong that she allowed 10. And this weekend, she's setting up another mini round robin for 4 or 5 men and she's charging $5, whether you're a member or a non-member. I mean,
That's value. That's value.
That's real value. I paid
Yeah.
$80 not to play a single game
Yep.
at National Pickleball, and she's offering, I played 9 games for 15.
And we know those players who are in there. They are quality players with good dupers that are going to positively impact yours, pending, because you're playing with different partners too. The way she has that set up and the value there is outstanding.
Yeah. Stolt, what is your take on? No, well, first of all, again, shout out to Aaliyah. I call her my pickleball mom, which she dislikes because she says it makes her old. So now I'm calling her my pickleball sister. But I absolutely just adore this woman. Talk about the opportunities she's giving us at Lifetime. Like, this is how it should be done. Lifetime is doing, and particularly Aaliyah is doing it right.
Yeah, and to Aaliyah's credit, she's getting national recognition from places like DUPR, from different pickleball associations. I know that there's been conversations with corporate headquartered Lifetime folks about the great work she's doing and Lifetime's doing to incorporate pickleball into their programming. And it's just skyrocketed. And so it's our hope. I mean, this is our pitch to say, hey, go ahead and take away some more of those tennis courts and put some more pickleball courts on there. That's what we're ready for, because we have the demand. And so, yeah, the product that she puts out and that we have available to us for a very cost effective manner with some high level competition. Obviously, when you're weighing the pros and cons, you heard Ian go off for a while about this and Tim's frustrations with some of it. Why wouldn't we do this? Well, guess what we do. That's what we are doing. And my whole issue with just these tournament experiences, I've played in 8 tournaments, I think, and medaled in 7 of them. And I bring that up just because I was hoping to see them into DUPR. My frustration lie with, and this was Jesse talked about this a little bit, but these mystery tournaments, what's the point in paying $100, $200, $300 to where I can't even find the results of my own games? Like, why did I do that? I have this little rink-a-dink medal that, no one cares about, but it's not logged to somewhere that matters. Going back to the value proposition, getting to see where I'm at as a pickleball player amongst my pickleball peers. That's why I want to play in tournaments. That's what I'm paying for. And if 7 out of those 8 tournaments aren't showing up on DUPR or WPR or any of these acronym rating systems, what is the point? You can keep your t-shirt, you can keep whatever you're trying to slang in my face, and just help me progress in my pickleball career, because I'm just not seeing that. I'm over mystery tournaments. That doesn't mean I'm done playing. I'm not going as far to boycott anything. I'm always wanting to play if I'm available, and the we get a good partnership to link up for a tournament. I'm going to do that. I just would like to see it matter every time.
Yep, 100%. And and on that point, it's like, well, any closing thoughts from you guys on that? Because the only thing I want to say is, like, having heard us rant and be angry and everything, we do this because we love pickleball. Mm-hmm. We love to compete. We love to get better. One of my favorite things about pickleball is the availability to all types of people. Some people just want to go and Tim's copying him, just go have a picnic, play your music, hit around with your family, and have some fun. And others like us are like, where is the best challenge that I can find to test my skill and to see how good I am? And if I have to shell out a little money for that, like, I'm willing to do that. But if I'm not going to get what I'm looking for, then props on guys like Steve Kuhn, who are, as imperfect as it is, creating like free market possibilities for us to go and do what is best for us to seek out the particular thing that we need. So, all right, guys, thank you for listening to us go on that rage. It was rather fun. I've been holding that in for a couple weeks here. Please like the video, share it, leave us some comments as well. I would bet my entire 4.25 DUPR that we are not the only people who feel this way about tournaments. So go ahead and email us, perhaps your experience from the NP Classic or a similar event yourself. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We love you all. Stay safe and stay out of the kitchen.